I've got another exciting episode of Anything is Possible coming your way. My guest is John Shanahan. He is a curious dreamer. He goes from the boat to the boardroom and back, and he saves lives and changes the world with a brand new company called Ionogen. Wait until you hear his story of possibility next on Anything is Possible. This is Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill, and these are great stories about great people like John Shanahan, whose lives prove that anything is possible. Feels like the air is better when I'm around you. John, it's great to meet you, sir. Great to have you here.
Very nice to meet you.
I hear something in your voice that is very familiar to me. I know a lot about the Midwest. I grew up in Milwaukee, spent time in Chicago. Do I hear some Wisconsin and Illinois in there?
Yes, I'm from a little town on the north side of Milwaukee, and so the good folks here often tell me I talk a little funny.
Really? Where near Milwaukee?
I'm from a little town called Mequon, Wisconsin.
Yes.
When I was there, it was a town nobody knew of, but I was told recently that Halle Berry lived there at one point. So long after I was gone, but my little town has grown up.
What was it like growing up there?
Very rural. We had one grocery store, one liquor store, and about 11 churches. Great little town, wonderful people, very community oriented.
Were you a church kid? Were you raised in church?
I was. My father was an Irish Catholic and my mother was a German Lutheran. So I was pulled between both sides of the faith, but mom primarily won. And so we wound up in a Missouri Synod Evangelical Lutheran church all through my youth.
Siblings?
I'm the youngest of four, and we have such a spread in our ages that I'm 60 and I have a 74-year-old sister who I never remember living at home because she went to college when I was a kid.
What were your interests?
You know, I've always been a boater and have always been a captain of different size boats. In fact, I live with my wife on a boat here in Knoxville.
Really?
I do.
Where'd that interest come from?
Well, our children are grown and gone. We have 5 children, and they have gone to just about the 4 corners. And we were living in a big house here in Knoxville, and realized it was the kitchen, the family room, and the screen porch, and that was all we were using. And we didn't need the basement and the other rooms. And we were looking at a old Chris Craft to go and buy and just have. And after we purchased it, my wife said, "Do we really need this house?" And it was really her idea. And so a year ago, we moved that boat from Memphis to Knoxville, and it's our home. So we came 500 miles one way and 500 feet up.
Now, let me ask you this. You said you got into boating early, though, as a young person. How'd that start?
My dad was a pharmacist mate in World War II, and he absolutely had a passion for being on the water. And even though he wasn't a captain, he ran the boats we had as kids as if he were, and we would do navigation courses, and I've pretty much circumnavigated every bit of the Great Lakes.
Really?
Yeah, very exciting, and I've had some terrifying experiences. I've had some absolutely breathtakingly beautiful experiences, but it was a great way to grow up on the water. We would go sometimes for 3 weeks by boat all over the Great Lakes.
What is it about the water?
It's peaceful, it's natural. For me, it brings me a very strong sense of calm. I'm kind of a driven business guy, and so I've got to find that one place. Some people golf. When I'm at the helm of the boat, it just gives me a place to mentally get away from everything.
So how do you end up here? Where'd you go to school, and how did you end up being an entrepreneur and a businessman?
Well, I figured out long ago in my career that I'm a crummy employee because I was too imaginative and too creative. And my employers would always say, "Can't you just do what we've hired you to do?" And I was always kind of coming up with different and new ideas. And about 5 years ago, I met this remarkable physician who is very well known here in Knoxville, and his name is Dr. Gene Overholt. And Gene became a special friend, and he knew that I had pioneered engineering in building what's called hypochlorous.
Did you study engineering?
I have a high school diploma.
Really?
I'm a self-taught, what I call user interface engineer.
Really?
I never went to college. Never
What?
went to college. I'm just a curious type, and I've always said, I believe in college, I just never did, and so I just continued to learn and teach myself.
How does a guy like you convince a guy like that to do this?
It was very interesting. You know, Dr. Overholt is an inventor himself. He invented the flexible colonoscope in 1961 before fiber optics and anything was around. And he came to me because he was looking for a better disinfectant for those types of medical devices. And he had heard about my reputation, and we met and we talked, and he said, what are you doing? And I said, I'm just about to sell off a company that I was involved in that kind of did this. And he said, what are you going to do? And I said, I'm going to grow a ponytail and write fiction books. And he said, you're not going to write fiction books. He said, I was living in Northern California at the time, and he said, are you planning on staying there? And I said, nope. I said, Lisa and I are either going to move to Savannah or New Orleans. And he said, pick a halfway ground, come to Knoxville. And I said, why would I come to Knoxville? And he said, we'll plant a company to transform the sanitation and disinfection industry. And he was right, and I have. And it's been a joy.
Let's take a break here because I want to talk about Ionogen, this new company that is growing like wildfire right here in our community. This is John Shanahan, and you're watching Anything is Possible.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel. Coming up.
We do about $2,300 in February of last year with about 8 employees. By the end of the year, we do $4.2 million.
So what was your first entrepreneurial venture?
20 years ago, I was working for a very large company, and they wanted to set up the very first non-detergent cleaning technology. And I was their employee, and they came to me and said, we'd like you to quit. I said, to do what? And they said, we're opening up a new adventure. We want you to take over to be the director of sales for the entire company as we launch it globally. And I said, is this an option? And they said, not really. We really want you to do this, and we will motivate you to do it. And so they made me the North American director of sales. And 20 years ago, we were able to transform water with electricity to be a low-level sanitizer and clean everything, replace all the blue glass cleaners and all of that in a very, very cost-effective package.
I do believe, and I say this quite often, that the world is driven by the possibility people, the people who step into a moment and they go, yeah, we can do this. Where does that come from in you, this belief that you could create something or that you could do something? Have you ever thought about where that comes from? Because without that, you're not you.
Yeah, that's an interesting concept. In my office, across from my desk, is a small medical surgical kit that belonged to my dad. He was not a doctor. He was a pharmacist made on a ship that didn't have a doctor on it. They didn't put physicians on all these ships in World War II. And these ships would pull up on the beach and the doors would open and they would take tanks and things off. And his creative side to save people's lives without having any formal training. And I was able as a young man growing up to watch my dad actually perform surgery on a child that was very badly injured on an island in northern Wisconsin. And that became my Anything is Possible because he just looked at it and long before the internet, the folks sent back a couple of Polaroid pictures and a letter, and when that was done, and the physician that they took the child to said, this was clearly done by a triage doctor, not by a real doctor. And he said, but the wound isn't going to be reopened because it was closed correctly. And it's driven me in my entire life and my career to think that if you can have the courage to do things like that, and if you can see the finished vision, then yes, anything is possible. And because I've spent my whole career working around people who clean our buildings and maintain our buildings, and I've seen the horrible tragedy that goes on when you're exposed to cleaning chemicals over 25 or 30 years, I knew I had to do something different. I had to see a different vision for these invisible people who come to our buildings, our schools, our hospitals. They do this amazing work. And they're invisible, but they're so valuable to us. That's what drives me.
Ionogen. So you get sold by Dr. Overholt, and he doesn't even have to sell. He has this presence about him. He's so sincere, so real, so smart. So you guys decide to launch Ionogen. What was the big concept, the big idea? Because it happens, we're right in the middle of COVID. So, I mean.
It was very interesting. We took all of 2019. We didn't sell anything. We were just engineering and designing, and he helped me raise several $1 million so that we could do the right research. And he's being a physician, anecdotal stories don't work for physicians. All they want to see is facts and science and lab reports, because that's how they live their lives. And so we together did all kinds of testing, safety, performance, does it kill germs? And we get on about late 2019, December. There's only 4 employees in the company. And we start hearing COVID, but the Boys and Girls Club, wonderful group here in town, run by a brilliant guy named Bart McFadden.
Yeah.
And Bart says, hey, the school closed, Knox school's closed. I can't close these, our daycares down, because he said, if these parents don't have someplace to take the kids, they can't work. And he said, what can I do to protect our workers? This is during flu. And so we created these purity units where we could put our solution inside, and the flu wouldn't transfer. And they never transferred. Now all of a sudden January hits, we start hearing COVID, COVID, COVID. We're not sure what it is. February, we turn on the website to sell a little bit. We do about $2,300 in February of last year with about 8 employees. By the end of the year, we do $4.2 million.
Whoa, run those numbers again, start at the beginning.
In February, we took our first sale last year. We did $2,300. By December 31st of 2020, we had done $4.2 million.
Good gracious.
We literally built the company up to 55 people. We have a phrase we use. We call it building the airplane while you're flying it. Because we're learning. We have to scale so rapidly. We have to find containers and boxes and spray heads, and we've got to build units, and we've got to assemble machines. And we have to go from making about 25 liters a day, which is all we were doing in the beginning of 2020, to 50,000 liters a day. And the machinery that does that, we invent. We have to build it. It doesn't exist. There's no store to get this. So this small group of people, which I will always refer to as my coworkers. We don't have any employees. I don't have any staff. We have everybody who's there is our coworker. We see it as a team. They do this. We do this. And they're the most remarkable, incredible group of people I've ever been associated with.
What are your projections for the growth of this company? I would imagine there's worldwide demand.
$31 million is our target for this year.
What?
$31 million is our target for this year.
So from $2,000 to $4 million to $31 million in 18 months?
In 18 months.
Good Lord.
Twice as a company last year, during July and August, we went what they call cash positive. So real quickly, in a new company, typically you don't get out of debt until you're about 3 or 4 years old. You're usually burning cash while you get. So Peloton went through hundreds of millions of dollars. Now they're doing well today, but it took them a long time. We got cash positive in 5 months. We will be a totally cash positive company here in working off of just the money we earn by about August. And we'll never have to go back to investing again.
What's interesting to me and what I love about your story is just this notion of having a worldwide global impact from wherever you are, that where you're from says nothing of where you can go. But then Overholt says, we want to help the world. It's not a small idea, it's a big idea. And you believing we can take something the size of a refrigerator, turn it into something the size of a blender, make it affordable, make it accessible, and have a huge impact. Just to believe that, to me, that to me is huge. You can't raise millions of dollars on an idea that you don't believe in, and that you can't verify. But you won't even do the work to verify if you don't believe.
Correct.
It seems like your faith would be essential.
But we are a very faith-driven company. Every time we onboard a new staff member, one of the things that we tell them is, I have this big title. It's President and CEO, but in the building, I'm just the founder. And in the building, the first thing that I discuss with every new employee is, I personally come to this job as a servant leader. These people don't work for me. I work for them. They don't go home and ever worry about the company or health insurance or sales or any of that. They should come and go with joy, and they should feel relaxed. It's my job to serve them. It's my job to sort of, and the metaphor I've always used is, I get it. I know why Jesus washed people's feet. I get it. I have to do that for them so that they can have joy in their life with their families and be productive.
My guest is John Shanahan. You're watching Anything is Possible. Hey, by the way, folks, John Shanahan is going to show us how this technology works. Just head over to our YouTube channel and take a look. So I want to talk to you about creating this company, Ionogen. First of all, what does this process do?
So it replaces all the registered disinfectants that our government says we should use that are poisons. And so the reason the government registers disinfectants is because they kill germs, but they kill us. And we ionogize by transforming salt into a solution that's actually inside your blood right now, naturally. So we biomimic you by creating a liquid solution that you could swim in, you could drink it, and you could drink it, you can put it on your clothes. It's completely safe. It mimics your body's immune system. We put that into the air, and we can breathe it, and it's not harmful to us. We can spray it on surfaces, but we could put our raw chicken breast right on top of it. We could spray the chicken breast. We could spray a tomato. I know there was a big topic recently, and you could eat the tomato. It's that safe of a product. We mimic nature to get rid of these dangerous chemicals that haunt people in their homes and in their businesses.
What is it about ions that does that?
So back to the 8th grade, we all know what salt is. It's sodium, Na, and chloride, Cl. So we pass electrons and ions between those two things, and we make the sodium, the salt side, go away, and we capture the chloride side. And the chloride is what we use in a neutral pH form, and that's what kills germs. And what's so interesting about this is that we've known this for over 120 years, but nobody could ever make the machinery in such a way that everybody could have it. It was always expensive or clumsy. So what we did is we made the machinery attainable, affordable, easy to work with, not complex. And so the solution protects us by eliminating these dangerous germs without poisoning us.
So you have a patent on the solution and a patent on the process itself.
Yes.
The delivery system itself.
Yes.
I guess what I want to know is, how'd you figure that out and nobody else? And why wouldn't another company be able to go, hey, wait a minute. So this is 8th grade science. Yeah,
but what's interesting is it's like the recipe. Like I can give you chocolate chips, and I can give you flour and eggs and brown sugar, and if I don't tell you what the outcome is, you might make me a cake or you might make me cookies. One of the things that I do that's very, very unique is I take the process from the very, very beginning, like, okay, so now we've got to have the machine. So we figure out how to make the machine, but a machine that you wouldn't be afraid to use or you'd give to one of your kids or something. Then we got to find a way, how do you get the liquid? Now we've made the liquid. How do I get it here or here? So in process, I designed the machinery. In process, I designed the delivery systems, all the way down to we make our own spray bottle. We completely engineered our own bottle. The bottle's unique. All the way to, if I had to do this whole room we were sitting in, a delivery system for that, and a delivery system that I can do just in a small room.
That's amazing. What have you learned about possibility?
It's such an interesting thing. We talk about dreams, and I think those things often come back to imagination. And I think one of the tragedies in life is we get to be an adult, we say you're past school, and here's your car payment and apartment rent or home mortgage. Now, just get out there and go do your work. And it's almost as if the first thing they do when you walk out is we strip away your imagination. And a dream is just an idea unrealized. Your imagination drives you to possibilities, and we should never do that. And when we tell people, you can't because, or that's not accessible to you, you're probably taking away an idea that could transform health, wealth, social development, because the imagination takes us to the land of possible.
You know, it's such a great thing that somebody gave you permission to think that way, and that there's a space in the world. How effective is your process, especially with COVID?
Our solution in the air is 95.7% effective. It simply won't let the virus move across the room. And if you get the virus and it lands in here, and you will just simply be exposed to the solution over a period of time, we know that it doesn't transfer into the lower parts of your throat, which is where you get COVID. If we can stop it here, it doesn't get down here.
You know what I'm thankful for? That at some point on a boat somewhere, John Shanahan is riding along just going, what if? Because it seems like when your what ifs become possible, they bless a whole lot of people. So thank you for being a powerful person of possibility and sharing your story. And I wish you and my dear friend, Dr. Overholt, a lot of success as you help the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much.